Hi, this is Vlad. You probably have noticed that more and more conversations about blockchain, NFTs, and decentralized finance start popping up across all social media channels. It started initially in some unofficial, more like casual ones, unprofessional ones, let's say Reddit, Discord, Twitter, but then even now we can see quite a lot of discussions popping up on LinkedIn. And it doesn't mean we should all jump on the bandwagon in crypto, right? What it does mean is we as entrepreneurs have to stay up to date on what is happening in this still emerging industry. In this video, I want to share with you 3 things you have to know as an entrepreneur about the blockchain space. The first thing I want us to talk about is what is a blockchain. And in simple words, is a technology that allows you to store data publicly and make it immutable, meaning original. Let's create a specific example. Let's consider the bank, right? We all have credit cards, we make some purchases with it. It means that those transactions, the history of those transactions, are stored in the bank's database, and they own this data. So you cannot just come there and say, hey, actually, can you give me all the list of all the history of transactions of my wife, kids, and this individual random from the street, right? They'll tell you no, it's impossible. But blockchain is flipping the script. It's basically, you can think of as a public database, publicly available, global, decentralized network. The word decentralized means there is no owner of it. There is no a particular individual or a company that owns a blockchain. You cannot own it unless you own all of its tokens, right? If it's a blockchain of Bitcoin, you need to own all of the Bitcoins across the world to really own the network, which is virtually impossible. And the reason why blockchains are becoming more and more popular because they solve a very particular problem. You see, there is a certain business cases where data has to be original. When you need to prove that this transaction or this piece of information is original, it wasn't mutated before and in its original form. This is what the blockchain for. It creates, by design, a network that allows you to write into it with the new records, but you cannot update, delete, or do anything with the previous ones. This way, it's like a real, true history of transactions. The second point I want to cover about blockchain and decentralized finance is how exactly it works and how you can use it for your own purposes, right? So we need to write into this public database. How do we do it? Do we just type some query, like insert something? No, this is what they call mining. You probably heard about mining Bitcoin, someone like purchasing graphic card and then mining Bitcoin for some reason you don't know why, right? Mining is a term that describes the process of validating the transactions and sending them to database. So you can think of it this way. In order to make this system truly decentralized, there needs to be quite a lot of participants, actually all of them, validating the transaction. Only when every single owner of the network says, yes, I approve this transaction, it's actually being placed into the network. And when it's done, the person who's validating it is being granted with some tokens, with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, depending on the blockchain, right? And they can use this currency to create new records. So it's a self-sustaining system. And the way usually you mine the transactions is you perform a very specific process, right? For most of the networks, it's just some kind of computational algorithm that's been performed by machine, by device. But once again, it depends. If you've been following, let's say Microsoft, they are even patenting the case where you can use your body movements, body heat, and even body pulsating to actually mine future blockchain. So it's pretty insane. It's a whole new topic for the next video. The point number 3, one of the most important points of this video is how can you apply blockchain to business, to your business in particular, right? So blockchain is about having original data. It's about having original piece of information stored publicly so everyone can access it and validate that it's the original piece of data. How we can use it, right? One of the popular features of blockchains that are currently used are called smart contracts. It's a way of transaction that has an agreement on contract bound to it. It's basically like an agreement, the public agreement that everyone can see and everyone can prove that this is the authentic, the original one. How we can leverage this? Let's think of the music industry. For example, let's say I'm a musician and I want to start my career significantly, but I need funding. So instead of me going to labels, to record labels, and offering them a huge portion of my future revenue for some upfront investment, right? What I can do is I can issue those smart contracts, smart agreements, and actually sell them to other people. And those contracts, for example, will bound me for a specific rev share, all future rev share with this individual. So let's say they buy my smart contract for $100,000 for 2% of my all future revenues. And this is actually a way for musicians to both fund themselves, fund their careers in the future, and for supporters to actually invest in those, basically avoiding the record labels. It's basically going to disrupt the industry. Same can apply to healthcare. There is some pieces of data, especially in the pandemic, right, when it comes to testing, to validating some other crucial information that has to be original. You can put it in a blockchain, and there is no way to edit it unless you own the blockchain, which is virtually impossible. One thing you need to keep in mind though is the legality, right? I would say, binding of these agreements using the blockchain, because the system and the government are still kind of on the fence on how exactly we are going to relate to those blockchain changes that are happening all over the world. Do we accept them? Do we just reject any blockchain validity? It's all currently to be decided, especially in this huge year. This is a huge year for blockchain, actually. And we need to pay clear attention on how the US government, the UK government are going to respond to it. But I personally am a big believer that it has some potential in it. It's just about playing your cards right. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My mission is to empower much more people to build awesome things and transform this world through tech. Until next time, I will see you in my next video.